In the long run, stocks which do not have the benefit of a contract participate in the growth of the economy and are expected to do better than bonds in the long run. But for the period immediately ahead, credit, I think, is a good tool. And if we run into tough times, your credit, or we call it fixed income investments, will probably do better than your stocks in a tough environment. But I want to add one more thing, and I want to demonstrate how complicated this area is. I never talk about this to make it seem easy. I don't want to make it seem easy. We know that the economic outlook is worse than it was in the recent past. We also know that the market is down. So the question is the market down appropriately given the worse environment, or too much, or too little? And, we suspect that there are challenges ahead for the economy. But what if I told you the recession will probably take 5% off of GDP, but the market is priced as if it's going to decline, GDP is going to decline 15%. That is to say, stocks are too cheap. So most people think positive event, prices up. Negative event, prices down. But it's not just events and prices. There's something in between, which I've been alluding to, psychology. It's not just what the events are, but how people feel about those events that produce the change in price. So if the events are negative, but the psychology is too negative, one can argue that the prices will go up. Now, I'm not making that argument. I'm only showing how much vagueness there is in this process of assessing future direction. Having said that, I think it's fair to say that in the last year, energy investments produced the best results. And we made a lot of money in energy. Our goal as investors is always the same, which is to buy the things that provide the best bargain in terms of the ratio of the possible reward to the risk involved. So we're always trying to make investments which produce what I call is an asymmetry. You have a high probability of making money and a low probability of losing money. Now, at Oaktree, we go further. We say, if something has a big chance of loss, but a huge chance of gain, we generally don't do that because we don't like to make investments where we could have big losses. What we try to find is things with a good upside, which is disproportionate to a downside risk, which exists but is modest. And that's what we found in energy. And why? Why were we able to get good deals in energy securities? Why did we make these investments? And the answer is that in recent years, the world developed an allergy to fossil fuel. And people who believe in social responsible investing said, you must take all the oil and gas and coal stocks and sell them. And this is called ESG, among other things. We believe very strongly in ESG. We believe in being responsible investors. We believe that the businessman has responsibilities other than just to make money. We believe in the responsibility to the planet and the people who live on it, as well as our employees and our fellow citizens. But I don't believe that the best thing we can do for the planet is sell all of our energy investments. Let's say we do. What does that accomplish for the planet? Somebody else buys them. They still exist. Nothing has changed fundamentally or ecologically. It's just a show of intention. Who buys them? People who don't care about social responsibility. So maybe they buy up these oil and gas companies and operate them in a less responsible manner. That doesn't help the planet. And The point is, we're going to require oil and gas for a long time. The state of California has just made a decision that they're going to stop the sale of gasoline-powered cars
2035,
which means that even in California, which is the most ecological state, we're going to be selling gasoline cars for 13 years, and those cars are going to last 20 years after that, which means we're going to need gasoline for the next 33 years. The key question is, who can produce it the cleanest? So rather than saying we're going to sell all of our energy stocks, we say we're going to buy the companies that are better performers, and we're going to buy the companies that are lesser performers and make them better if we can. And I personally think that this is a more responsible position than merely selling, which accomplishes nothing, in my opinion. So that's the way we feel about it. And so many people were negative on energy stocks that, for us, they became one of the areas where you could find the best bargains. And in this way, I believe that looking for bargains and good investment returns for the clients and being a responsible investor socially came together.
In 2008, when the world was panicking, Howard Marks was writing calm memos to his investors. While everyone was asking what will happen next, Marks was asking a very different question. He wasn't trying to predict the future. He was trying to avoid losing money. Marks understood one simple truth. Over the long period, economies grow, businesses expand, profits compound. That's why he believed stocks are unbeatable in the long run. He said, over the long term, stocks are the best performing asset class. Not because they are safe, but because time absorbs risk. And volatility hurts only those who don't wait. But Marks also knew something most investors ignore. In the short term, the market does not reward patience. It tests it. Prices fall, fear spreads, and even great companies can look like terrible investments. That's when bonds quietly do their job. As Marks explains, bonds promise a return on capital. Stocks only offer a return on capital. In uncertain times, certainty becomes valuable. Howard Marks never chased the biggest returns. He chased the highest odds. Every decision he made was based on one filter. Is the probability of making money is high, and the probability of losing money is low. If the odds weren't clear, he waited. Marks believed that losing money changes everything. It damages confidence, it destroys compounding. That's why he said, rule number 1, most things will prove to be cyclical. Rule number 2, some of the greatest opportunities come when people forget rule number 1. Survival was never optional. It was the strategy. Howard Marks did not become successful by being bold. He became successful by being right often enough. Stocks for long-term growth, bonds for short-term protection, and decisions made on probability, not hope. That's how quiet investors win. So if you want to invest like the smartest minds in the market, start thinking in probabilities, not predictions.